Hey, what's up guys? This is Brian from Whisper Status 74. This video is going to be on the TCL 8 Series Mini LED. What you see behind me, I know you can't see it very well, is a video by Digital Trends. Caleb Dennison, who has a great channel and they are a great website, is covering other electronics, and he did do a short video on the TCL 8 Series, which I will link in the description. The reason why I want to talk about this, and Vincent did a video on this recently from HD TV Tests, about the TCL 8 Series being delayed a few months. Things aren't quite ready for prime time and to be purchased. He did a video this summer saying they'd be available in October, which is fast approaching, and many of us are very excited about it. Many of you are very excited about it. Now, Caleb does a quick overview. It's a little vague, but he does cover the things about it that he likes and a little bit about the technology. What is interesting, guys, is we talk about the design quickly. I know you can't really see it, but it does have that TCL kind of clunky in terms of the base design and the very clean outline. That is for those of you that are very interested in aesthetics. For me, what interests me in this video, it's only about 3 minutes long, is he references a couple displays. He references OLED, obviously, LG, and obviously Sony and Panasonic, Hisense, and that near black, and to get to the pixel level of creating near blacks. That is the goal that so many manufacturers are trying to find without actually becoming OLED, to limit blooming. Now, what I thought was interesting about what he mentioned is he mentioned the Q90R, which is Samsung's flagship 4K display this year, which is my favorite LED this year, and the Z9D, the legendary Z9D. Now, the reason he brings them up is the amount of zones that are in these mini LEDs is kind of where LEDs are going away. LEDs have had less zones to give you, there's many theories on this, but there's been less zones than the Z9D and the Q9FN. You have the Z9F and the Q90R where their zone count had gone down. Now, I don't think it's fair to just say less zones is not as good a picture. I think it's more to do with manufacturing and perhaps zone functionality, having more coverage with less zones. We can't just go by numbers. Some of the Vizios have higher zone counts and don't have the blacks that the Q90R has. So it's really more about implementation. However, we talk about blooming, guys, and we talk about what blooming really is. And blooming isn't flashlighting into the black bars. Flashlighting into the black bars is something that can be a panel defect if you see it in the same place all the time. Blooming is really highlighting around bright objects in a dark background, where the local dimming is trying to keep it separate and it just highlights the area around it. So a lot of you guys that see very bright black bars, that isn't always blooming. That can also be a defective panel, especially if you have older edge-lit panels. The blooming that so many of us talk about is really more of transition. And I will tell you that having an OLED for a month, the thing that I miss the most is transition. So when you look at this demo, when you watch it, I will put it in the link. When you see the colors coming out, I won't show you his video, that's, but as the colors in this demo come out, it's how does the light activate? What darkens, what dims? The transition in LEDs can be aggressive, meaning that you can see that brightness increase and then dissipate, and it's distracting. To me, that's the most distracting blooming. A little bit of blooming around a loading signal in a video game, a little bit of blooming around subtitles, to me, isn't so distracting, but the transition, as the zones begin to transition, can be tough. So we talk about that with the Q90R, is very good at that. Other displays that have even very high zone counts aren't quite as elegant, where you've heard that even with the Quantum XP series and some of the other LEDs, that transition isn't quite as smooth. Spending some time with an OLED, the best part about it for me was zero transition, just black, light, and contrast. And Mini LED is looking to do something similar by, instead of having 100 zones or 300 zones or 500 zones, 25,000 independent small cluster of zones to try and control the light and the dark together. Now, being realistic, the question that many of you guys have had in the comments, and the questions that we can't really seem to answer, is Peak brightness. What are we looking at for peak brightness? Because it isn't an LED. He mentions quickly back to the Z90 and the Q90R, getting close to Q90R's level. Well, we would hope that something like the mini LED would surpass the Q90R, would surpass a LED. So I know he's just saying these things quickly. He's not actually breaking it down or anything. But what I'm saying in this video, and the reason for doing this video, is for me and for you guys, I want to set the expectation or talk about my expectations of it. Mini LED, micro LED, what I'm looking for is OLED blacks. That's what you're being advertised, is not near OLED blacks, but really, really near to where you have a hard time choosing them in a showdown of sorts. Will it be brighter than OLEDs? The C9 is very, very bright. The perception of brightness with OLEDs, will these really be bright? Can they control the light in certain parts of the screen? Will they be able to handle that? We have to also be very realistic that this is TCL. I do like the company a lot. They do have their issues with quality control as far as DSC, screen uniformity issues. How will this be with this kind of display? This display is going to be, higher end. It's not going to be super expensive, but for them, and this is where they're going to have a little bit of an issue. Hold on. Now, where they may have a little bit of an issue is quality control, as I just mentioned, but with the pricing of the TCL 8 series. We saw with the Vizio Quantum XP series, when it was first announced that it was going to have a $3,500 price tag, many scoffed at that, saying, wait a minute, it's still a Vizio. I'm not paying nearly that amount of money. And the Vizio now is $2,000. So we have talked about that with these brands before, Hisense, TCL, and Vizio. They are in that weird spot of being too high-end to be low-end, too low-end to be high-end. So they can't really price too expensive, but they can't get out of that, that shadow of being a bargain brand. Would you pay $3,500 for a TCL, a 75-inch TCL? So the pricing is going to be very important. The biggest question you guys have, and I have myself, as there's different reports out there, is how many hertz will the panel be? Will it be 60 hertz? Will it be 120 hertz? That is make or break for many of us. And for me, all of this concept is beautiful, but if the motion isn't there, that will be a challenge. And that is my biggest sticking point. The price is the price. It's a very exciting new technology, but at 60 hertz, that will be difficult. Now, none of that has been answered here. He's just doing a quick overview. I want to just bring it back up because it has been pushed back, but the specs aren't there. Will we have HDMI 2.1? On Vincent's initial video, I believe the ones in Europe will be 8K. These will be 4K. Will they have HDMI 2.1? Will they have true HDMI 2.1? Will it be simulated? Will it have all the gamer-centric features that many of us are coveting with HDMI 2.1? And for me, is the only reason why to have HDMI 2.1. I am very, very excited for Mini LED. I hope that it will be everything we hope it will be. But being realistic, it's more about how TCL handles it. Initially with the TCL 6 series, a very, very popular display, which was 60 hertz. Also, terrible screen uniformity. I've done videos on it. Many of you have had them and sent them back. This company is now dealing with something much more high-end. It still takes a long time to sort a lot of this stuff out. And I am curious to see how TCL and companies like Vizio, as Vizio gets into OLED, how will they handle their quality control? I would imagine that a new technology such as this and moving to OLED is a much more fickle and new business for them. We will see how they handle it. What do you guys think about the TCL Mini LED? Are you excited about it? Are you cautious about it? Is 60 hertz what's keeping you from fully jumping into it? Now, I don't have any specs that it is going to be 60 hertz. I've heard various things. Would you expect that because it's an LED that it should be brighter? Will it be what gives us, like we talked about with micro LED, will it give us that 2000 nits with the OLED blacks? Because the perceived brightness of OLEDs and with the C9 being very, very bright, we're getting we're running out of runway here. What is it that we're really looking for? A lot of the knocks on some of, like the Vizio Quantum XP series, is being very, very bright. But is it bright to where it washes it out? Peak brightness does nothing without actual contrast ratio. So I'm very interested to see what these numbers really, really are. And it is the display I'm looking at as far as the most interesting. And what's going to happen to LED? We're seeing a lot of companies move away from it. We'll do a separate video on it. But this is going to be in the TCL 8 series. I will link Caleb's video below. Support him, support the channel. They do a lot of great work. He's a great guy, very, very friendly, very knowledgeable. But what are you thinking? Those of you that are apprehensive, is it because of the price? Is it go back to the Vizio conversation where you can't see spending that much money on a Vizio or a TCL? TCL is right in the same ballpark. Or will the new technology excite you and make you spend a little bit more money on what is perceived to be a bargain brand? For me, bringing up the Z9D is also very, very interesting, considering that the Z9D, the Samsung KS9800 and the Sony 940E, I had two of those here. They had almost zero blooming. So what's interesting to me is LED technology had actually reached it, but at what cost? How much was it to actually manufacture the Z9D? All those zones, how was the heat? How thick was the panel? Perhaps this is the answer. Perhaps what you're seeing with Hisense with the dual LCDs, that's the answer. How do we deliver that contrast ratio and those blacks without being OLED? And more importantly, without the risk of burn-in, without that fear of burn-in. Whether we agree that burn-in is exaggerated or not, it is real. It can happen. This will not have that. And anything we can do to have less risk with the things that we buy would be very, very welcome. And as much as I like my experience and love my experience with OLED, I will always want there to be an alternative, especially an affordable one, as displays, I think, are coming down in price, but that's still a lot of money to invest in a very large OLED. And to have LED there as competition is something I will always want. I'm excited about it. 60 hertz though, if that is the case, that will cripple it for me. That will probably right off the bat be a no buy. Also depends on the pixel response. But I would guess that if it's 60 hertz, it doesn't do a lot of good to have HDMI 2.1 or a higher refresh rate. So let's see what it's all about. I want to hear what you guys think in the comments. How excited are you for this? Please look at his video. It is very short, but I want to talk a little bit about the 60 hertz rumor. Have you guys heard that? Have you heard anything to the contrary? Let me know what you think. I am very excited for this upcoming year in displays. 2019 was a very good year, but it was looked upon by many as a gap year, which it could be said that it was. We had some really good displays, and we'll talk a little bit about that in a few days. But let me think about TCL 8 series. Check out Caleb Dennison and Digital Trends, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you guys, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.